In 1988, pitcher Joe Magrane started 24 games for the St. Louis Cardinals. Over those 24 games, he totaled 165 and a third innings pitched, 100 strikeouts, 3 shutouts, and a 1.113 whip. He also recorded an ERA of 2.18 and an adjusted ERA of 161. Both of those two were league leaders. Certainly one of the best starting pitchers in baseball that season. He won 5 games. Magrane's 5 wins in 1988 are the record for fewest wins by a pitcher to lead the league in ERA.
And Joe with a 5-9 record. How about that ERA? 2.18. Lowest in the National League last year.
He set a record for the lowest amount of wins for leading the league in earned run average. Magrane, with a record of 5-9 last year, won only 5 ball games in spite of leading the league in earned run average. That's an all-time record for fewest wins with the number 1 ERA.
It's not as if he went 5-0 or 5-1. Magrane went 5-9. The man who led MLB in ERA had almost double the amount of losses than wins. There are only 3 other instances in MLB history of a starting pitcher recording an adjusted ERA of at least 161 to have more losses than wins. Magrane was the only one of those 4 to lead MLB in ERA or adjusted ERA. How did this happen? Before I talk about the Cardinals and Magrane, I need to quickly discuss how starting pitchers get wins. For the pitcher who is starting the game to qualify for a victory, he must complete the following criteria. He must pitch at least 5 innings, his team must be winning at the time he exits the game, and his team must never give up the lead once he departs the game. From this criteria, we can see 2 aspects that are out of a starting pitcher's control: run support and the bullpen. No matter how good a starting pitcher is, he needs to rely on his team's offense and bullpen in order to get victories. The 1988 Cardinals were bad, but they weren't historically bad. A 76-86 record isn't good, but it's not that terrible. It could be a lot worse. St. Louis was in the bottom 3 teams in runs scored in 1988, so one of the worst, but not the worst. There have been plenty of worse teams that provided enough run support to give their aces wins. For example, the 2010 Mariners lost over 100 games and still gave Felix Hernandez more wins than losses. Joe Magrane led the league in ERA and only won about 20% of his starts. Exactly how bad were the Cardinals in games he started? Magrane threw 19 quality starts in his 24 games. His record in those 19 games? 5-7. There were 11 games Magrane started in which he gave up 1 or fewer runs. He went 4-4 in those 11 games. Out of his 9 losses on the season, he gave up 2 or fewer runs in 6 of those 9. Among his 10 non-decisions, Magrane allowed 2 or fewer runs in 9 of them. In Magrane's 5 wins, he threw a complete game shutout in 3 of them. There are only 2 games out of a possible 24 in which Magrane got the victory where he didn't throw a complete game shutout. 2 games. St. Louis overall went 8-16 in Magrane's 24 starts. As mentioned earlier, the Cardinals as a team went 76-86 during the regular season. That means in games in which Joe Magrane did not start, the Cardinals were almost a 500 ball club. Yet, in games that Magrane did start, the Cardinals suddenly became the worst team in baseball. How is it that you take a 500 ball club, give them the best pitcher in baseball, and they have double the amount of losses than wins? In Magrane's 24 games he pitched that season, the Cardinals scored a combined 66 runs. That's 2.75 runs a game on average. That's not the lowest run support an ace pitcher has ever gotten, but that 5-9 record is the worst record for any ace ever. Surprisingly, there were only 2 games in which Magrane exited with the lead and the bullpen cost him a potential victory. Had the bullpen remained intact those 2 games, he still would have had more losses than wins. As mentioned earlier, Magrane's 5 wins in 1988 are the record for fewest wins among pitchers to lead the league in ERA. We may never see a pitcher perform that good to see such few wins ever again. It really goes to show you can be the best around and come up empty-handed if the team around you underperforms.